WrestleMania is by far the most impressive spectacle in the wrestling world, and while some people tune in for the theatricality alone, it's the incredible matches that leave us with the best memories. But as we've seen a million times in wrestling, things don't always go to plan. Problems arise, like injuries or creative issues or superstars refusing to take directions. Therefore, WWE sometimes had to pivot from their original plans, meaning we've missed out on a few matches that could have been absolute showstoppers. In this video, we're going to look at 10 WrestleMania matches we were supposed to get, but for one reason or another, never happened. Starting with Number 10, CM Punk vs. Triple H, WrestleMania 30. When there's legitimate animosity between two superstars, it can go one of two ways. Either WWE will turn it into an on-screen angle and capitalize on the real-life heat, or the two superstars will be kept well away from each other and the beef will never be mentioned on television. According to reports, Triple H took a disliking to CM Punk from day one. Punk encapsulated everything Triple H disliked about modern wrestlers, from his smaller size to his outspoken attitude to his independent wrestling roots. The two had an interesting feud in 2011, and promo battles between the two bordered on uncomfortable, with both superstars taking scathing personal shots at each other every time. By 2013, seeds were being sown for another meeting between the two stars at WrestleMania 30, but Punk, unhappy with how WWE was treating him, walked out of the company in January 2014 and never looked back. All things considered, and given Punk's current standing in the wrestling world, we doubt this match is ever going to happen. Number 9, Brock Lesnar vs. Bray Wyatt, WrestleMania 32. To this day, Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt have never met in a singles match. The closest we ever got was a handicap match between Lesnar, Bray Wyatt, and Luke Harper in March of 2016, and it seemed inevitable that WWE was heading towards Lesnar vs. Wyatt the following month at WrestleMania 32. But WWE scrapped plans for the two to meet when Dean Ambrose suddenly became one of the hottest acts in the company, so they replaced Wyatt with the rising ex-Shield member in what turned out to be one of the most disappointing matches in WrestleMania history. Similarly, Bray Wyatt's WrestleMania record is anything but spectacular, but Lesnar vs. Wyatt would have been an interesting clash of styles and personalities. Funnily enough, Wyatt vs. Lesnar was also the plan for this year's Mania, WrestleMania 39, but that too was scrapped at the last minute. Allegedly, Lesnar didn't want to work with Wyatt due to his supernatural character not meshing well with Lesnar's super legit character. Number 8, Big Show vs. Shaquille O'Neal, WrestleMania 33. This match has nearly happened a number of times, but in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania 33, it really seemed like it was on the cards. Big Show and Shaq had previously exchanged blows in the previous year's Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and later swapped a few words over social media. Show even got to be the most shredded he's ever been in preparation for the bout. However, once again, it failed to materialize. Obviously, this match was never going to be a 5-star classic, but the visual of these two giants squaring off would make video packages for years to come. Apparently, Shaq's schedule got in the way, with basketball occupying his time around Mania's season, so he didn't have the chance to get into ring shape. Shaq has made a few appearances for AEW in recent years, and Show now works for them in a backstage role too. But if we're being honest, the moment has kind of passed, so it's probably best to let these two giants go their separate ways. Number 7, Shawn Michaels vs. Eddie Guerrero, WrestleMania 22. Of all the premature deaths in wrestling, none hurt more than the untimely passing of Eddie Guerrero. Eddie could do it all. He had endless charisma, incredible in-ring ability, and he was one of the most compelling characters during the 4 years that he spent in the WWE. The fact that his planned match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22 never came to light is a tragedy in of itself. The previous year at WrestleMania 21, Shawn Michaels had taken on Kurt Angle in an amazing match that's only gotten better with time. WWE wanted to recapture that magic the next year, so they penciled in Eddie Guerrero as Shawn's opponent for a special attraction match. It would have torn down the house given their similar styles and grandiose characters, but sadly, Eddie passed away 4 months before WrestleMania. Eddie's influence is still felt throughout the wrestling world today, so we can only imagine the magic that Latino heat and Mr. WrestleMania would have created on the big stage. Number 6, Brock Lesnar versus Shane McMahon, WrestleMania 33. Shane McMahon certainly isn't the best wrestler in the world, but no one can deny that he doesn't go full throttle at WrestleMania. He's had some incredible WrestleMania moments, including fantastic bouts with The Undertaker, AJ Styles, and one of the wildest Mania matches ever against his own dad. That's why it's a crying shame that we never got to see Shane versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 33. At SummerSlam 2016, WWE planted the seeds for an upcoming feud by having Shane save Randy Orton from a brutal Lesnar beating. A few weeks of story followed, but closer to WrestleMania, WWE ditched the idea because Brock Lesnar wanted to work with Goldberg instead. The end result was a pretty explosive match between two legends, and actually resulted in Goldberg's first ever clean loss in a singles match in his entire career. But still, we can't help but wonder what crazy stunts Shane might have pulled out of the bag to put the beast away. Number 5, Triple H versus Mike Tyson, WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 17, widely considered to be one of the best WrestleManias of all time, nearly had a legitimate boxing match on the card. With the recent acquisition of WCW by WWE, there was a lot going on leading up to the event, so much so that WWE were struggling to find a spot to slot in Triple H. Trips end up facing The Undertaker, but WWE's original plan was a 6-round boxing match with legendary boxer Iron Mike Tyson. It seems out of left field, but Tyson had a history with the cerebral assassin, stemming from Tyson being an honorary member of D-Generation X for a while, only for him to turn on the faction at WrestleMania 14 and help Austin win the title from Shawn Michaels. The story was going to see Triple H seeking vengeance for Mike Tyson's betrayal, but apparently the logistics of having a real boxing match were a little too complex and expensive, so the idea was scrapped. It's probably for the best because, as shredded as Triple H is, fighting the baddest man on the planet was only going to end one way. Number 4, Sting versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 31. Whenever we talk about dream matches, or specifically WWE versus WCW, The Undertaker and Sting's names are usually mentioned in the same breath. For some reason, the two icons have been interlinked ever since the late 90s, perhaps because they were both pillars of their respective companies, or maybe it's because they both dress in black and wear cool overcoats. Either way, you'd think it was inevitable that the two would meet in the ring at some point in their long careers. The two did meet in the early days of WCW, back when The Undertaker was known as Mean Mark Callis, but never in their legendary incarnations they later became famous for. The closest we came to such a match happening was WrestleMania 31 during Sting's brief run in the WWE, but due to The Undertaker's injuries, the creative team didn't want to set the match in stone in case Taker couldn't compete. Instead, we saw Sting take on Triple H in a match that's best forgotten about. Number 3, Sting versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 18. And on the subject of Sting and WrestleMania, there were plans to bring the Stinger into WWE long before he eventually arrived in 2014. The first plans went back as far as 2002 when WWE wanted to showcase Sting versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 18. But closer to the time, Sting backed out when he saw how WWE had treated fellow WCW stars that had migrated during the 2001 Invasion storyline. Until then, most of the WCW alumni had either been buried or used in comedy angles, with only Goldberg and a little bit of Booker T coming across as legitimate competitors. Sting feared he'd be treated the same way most of his old colleagues had been, so he rejected WWE's offer, instead joining TNA the following year. As we saw in Sting's match against Triple H at WrestleMania 31, maybe Sting made the right decision after all. Number 2, John Cena versus Jay-Z, WrestleMania 19. Okay, so not a match as such, but WrestleMania 19 was supposed to see a rap battle between the Doctor of Thugonomics and rap legend Jay-Z. On paper, it sounds like a ham-fisted attempt to get mainstream celebrity coverage at a WrestleMania, but John Cena has a history of turning trash into gold, and having one of the greatest rappers of all time as an opponent wouldn't hurt either. Unfortunately, Jay-Z canceled his appearance in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, so instead, Cena took out his lyrical frustration on a cardboard cutout of Jay-Z on the shows leading up Sunday Night Heat. It ended up being more entertaining than a man talking to a piece of cardboard should be, but we can't help but wonder what an exchange of words between the two men would have looked like. Number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 18. The all-American hero that carried WWF through the 80s and 90s versus the iconic anti-hero that catapulted wrestling into the mainstream during the Attitude Era. Two wrestling titans from separate generations, and they were both in the WWE for a brief period in 2002. So naturally, the plan was to have them headline that year's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 18, in what would have been a once-in-a-lifetime meeting. Unfortunately, the dream match never happened because Austin didn't think that it would live up to the hype. Stone Cold has always been very protective of his legacy, which is why he's known for nixing matches he thought would be stains on his reputation. With Hogan having undergone multiple back surgeries, Austin knew him and the Hulkster wouldn't be able to go all out on the biggest stage in wrestling, so WWE ended up replacing Austin with The Rock in what went on to become a legendary WrestleMania match. To this day, Austin and Hogan have only ever met once in the ring, and that was in a tag team match the week before that very WrestleMania. Sadly, we'll never know what a singles match between the two would look like, because while Austin might still be able to go in the ring, the Hulkster has long since retired. Therefore, we can only fantasy book how a match between the two legends might have played out. And that's it for our list. Did we miss any famous dream matches that nearly happened? Let us know in the comments down below.